Are you panicking? Am I panicking? We're all panicking. Let's talk about some players in fantasy basketball and whether we should be panicking about them or not. For those of you who don't know me, I'm Chris. Welcome to Number 2 Sports. And one thing we for sure aren't panicking about is my mini hoop jumper. Okay, first up, we have LaMelo Ball. Now, this has nothing to do with his actual play on the court when he's on there. It's just all about those ankles. Now, his ankles do seem like they actually could be cucked for his entire career. He hasn't shook off any of that injury bug status, any of that injury prone status at all this year in 2025. His ankles look like they're legit failing him. The Hornets aren't winning any games at all. I'm really nervous that this is going to turn into another lost season for the Hornets and LaMelo. Oh, and if we briefly just talk about his actual play on the court, it would be nice if you could see him improve his efficiency just one season, but I think kind of that's just who LaMelo is at this point of his career. He's going to go out there and he's going to chuck up and throw up the most ridiculous shots each night. He's going to destroy your field goal percentage more times than not, so I definitely think when he is actually playing, he's like a punt field goal percentage guy. Because if you look at some of these game logs, man, he is just single-handedly destroying you. My panic meter would be full chub right now if I'm a LaMelo owner. I am a LaMelo owner, but man, I just get the pain. He's so good when he's healthy. He just never is. And I don't know if we'll ever be able to count on it. Okay, we'll keep going with another guy, Joel Embiid. Now, similar to LaMelo, except it's not his ankles, it's his knees. Watching Joel Embiid play just looks so fucked to me, but I know that a bunch of you said that's just kind of what he's looked like throughout his career, his style, but I honestly don't ever remember it being that bad. I hate that I want to bid on him in my main auction league. I've tried to trade him after that couple of games that he had a few weeks ago to no avail, so I'm just stuck with him. I know fantasy managers are at just the mercy of his knees and his health and his load management for the 31-year-old 7-footer. My panic meter is and would be fully torqued if you have Embiid on your fantasy teams like me. Next up, we have Dyson Daniels. Now, Dyson Daniels in a majority of leagues would be mainly drafted for his steals contribution, but if you were drafting Dyson based on his scoring input last year and expected that and counted on that going forward in this year, you're definitely disappointed to start out the year. Daniels' scoring has drastically dipped down to 8.7 from 14.1 last year. He was at 50% the year before, 47% from the floor this year, but the biggest thing is his field goal attempts. Daniels is shooting 4 less shot attempts per game so far in 2025, so unless he's going to shoot 70% from the floor, there is just no way that he's going to match last year's scoring averages with his current shot distribution. I think Jalen Johnson taking a massive step forward, the additions of N.A. West, Nickeil Alexander-Walker, Porzingis, and really dampened his outlook, really dampened his touches, his shot attempts, and his usage. And even with Trae Young out, it hasn't got much better. His usage has dropped from 18.7 last year to 15.4 this year. Again, it's not full-blown panic if he is mainly your stock contributions guy, but if you're expecting those other stats, I am pretty worried about it actually, and I don't know if we're going to see that level of Dyson Daniels this year like we did last year. Next up, we'll go with Jarrett Allen from the Cleveland Cavaliers. Now, Allen's minutes are down nearly 3 minutes per game compared to last year. His field goal percentage has actually dropped 12%. He was at a ridiculous 70% in 2024, down to only 58% this year. Only 58%, like acting like that's bad. His rebounds are down nearly 2 per game. The one solace is that his field goal attempts are actually up this year, so his point totals, his average point totals are higher, as Allen's usage rate has jumped all the way up to 22.4% this year from only 15% last year. Allen historically has just been a rock solid nightly double-double threat with good field goal percentage and a decent amount of blocks. So that's definitely what managers expected when drafting him on draft night. Now, I don't see anything that's drastically different with Jarrett Allen's games this year to make his field goal percentage decrease this much. Maybe the increase in shot attempts has affected it, but I really don't see the correlation for a 12% drop for it to be this bad. Even in 2023, 2024, when Allen averaged 10 attempts per game, his field goal percentage was still 63%. I'm not panicked on Allen really at all. He's still a top 70 player, and I legit just think that's his floor moving forward. I would really like the minutes to go back up, But either way, we are definitely okay here. Okay, so I know I have an injury section, but this isn't in regards to injury at all. It's definitely just been about Ja Morant's play when healthy. If you look at his stats, he's practically down in every category across the board in 9-cat leagues this year. His field goal attempts are down. His field goal percent is down nearly 10%. His three-pointers are down. He's only shooting 17% from deep. Again, I got better guys doing that in our rec league. His points are nearly down 6 per game. Rebounds are down. Assists are about the same. And steals are slightly down as well. Maybe the departure of Desmond Bane actually really hurt Ja in the sense that all the defensive attention now is on him and Jaren Jackson Jr. when before at least teams had to know of the presence, at least had to prepare and guard Desmond Bane. So now everything's on Ja. So maybe that's just really negatively affecting him this year. Now, Morant has never been this poor of a shooter, so I don't think he's suddenly a 35% shooter or worse. But sometimes you can just have off years, and Memphis does look just really bad. In the bottom tier, statistically, across the board, across the board. Now, the Western Conference is also loaded. It's just a lot of stuff going on with the trade rumors now boiling too about Ja Morant. Ja is known, has had issues in the past, and the situation could get ugly really quick. So yes, I am very panicked on Ja Morant, and now in addition to his multi-week absence coming up due to a calf strain, it's not helping my worry about his really poor play to start this year. Next up, we have Wham Bam Cameron Johnson. Now, a lot of people have actually been dropping Johnson in a lot of weeks. That pretty much is all you need to know about how people feel about his start to start the year, that they're actually just cutting bait with him. They don't want the headache anymore, and they're just chasing the waiver wire instead. So yeah, you could say he's been pretty bad on his quest for glory with the Denver Nuggets. Like, we really don't have to go deep into anything. Across the board, everything has gotten way worse. I was not really high on Johnson at all. I don't really have any stocks of him in any of my leagues this year, but I never thought it would be this bad. Maybe the one little glimmer of hope, the one little shining bright light, if people are still grasping at straws, trying to justify his poor start, is the Christian Braun injury. Denver could definitely shuffle around the lineups, definitely shuffle the rotations, the minutes, and the usage, and some of that could go Cameron Johnson's way. He did have the best game of his season by far. His last game played with a 19-4-3 line with 5 triples and a season high 37 minutes last time out. So who knows? Maybe this kind of does resurrect him from the dead. But yeah, the alarm bells have been ringing very loud for like the last 3 weeks. Definitely full on Chubb, full on panic mode for Mr. Johnson. Next up, we'll keep going with Domantas Sabonis from the Sacramento King. Now, Sabonis's points are down, his rebounds are down, his assists are really down. They're practically cut in half from last year. His field goal percentage is also down 8%. But hey, at least his steals are up, right? But no, I know it's an extremely small sample size since Sabonis has only played 10 games this year. But you guys know, I think the Sacramento roster construction is just disgusting. I don't think it fits at all. It makes no sense to me. Sabonis has had some really big games this year, but then he's also had a bunch of duds. So you would like to see more consistency from your first round pick or early second round pick so far this year. I really don't see why his rebounds have dipped. His offensive boards per game is practically the same, so he's still getting after it on that end, and that is a lot more variable than defensive boards in my opinion, where it actually has dipped by nearly 1.2 per game. Maybe he's getting stretched out farther on D, or variable in the small sample size on who he's guarding, how teams are playing him, or simply just weird ball luck. The assists though is the major concern. LaVine and DeRozan are ball dominant. Westbrook, you name it, so many weird fits on this team. Sabonis' offensive load has decreased by 8%, so the rock just isn't flowing through him like we've seen in years past when he played alongside Fox. I do think Sacramento's going to do something, move somebody. They just have to, or like, what are they even doing here? That should open up more touches, more playmaking ability for Sabonis. He's also just too proud. He plays too hard to pack it in, even in a losing season, which it's going to be for Sacramento. I'm definitely worried based on the draft capital you would have had to spend to acquire him, but I wouldn't do anything drastic. I do think Sabonis will bounce back sooner rather than later, but I definitely understand the panic that a lot of fantasy managers have with Sabonis. Hang tight, but just probably be prepared that he's not going to return first round value by season's end. Okay, we'll keep going with the big white guy, the big white boy, Donovan Clingan. Now, the weird thing with Clingan is that he's actually improved most of his average stats from last year, even though a lot of people are down on him lately. So he's improved in points, rebounds, assists, steals, and blocks have stayed relative. The thing is, people were counting on a breakout from him, not just a slight improvement. So when the breakout necessarily hasn't happened yet, the general consensus is that he's struggling. Now, if we look into the stats, Clingan's field goal percentage has dipped, but he's also shooting 2.5 more shots per game. Clingan's free throw percentage is actually insane right now at 94%. So that's definitely bumping up his season-long rank in that category. He is just not a 90% free throw shooter. There is just no way. I don't think anyone believes that. This will come down, and if it doesn't, I'll show whole, whether you like it or not. Now, the minutes are only at 25 per night. I would like to see that closer to 30. I think he needs to be closer to 30 to really pad those counting stats, to bump up those point totals, and get everything else that should come with the breakout. It's been disappointing to say the least. And if we don't get to that 30-minute threshold per night, if the minutes stay around this 25 per game mark, I don't know if he's going to take as big a leap as everyone expected coming into the year. I am worried about him, but at the same time, I do have some optimism that he can get a little bit better, that his minutes might creep up a little bit. So I'm holding him in leagues at least a little longer. Okay, we have a little flow change here. I was recording this and then I got interrupted, so I have to do it over 2 days, and my kid hit my head. I have no idea where it is. So you guys can see the flow for a little bit. So we're going to keep going with John Collins. Now, Collins is probably the guy that I see the most, that the people are freaking out about the most in the comments down below, or if you should drop him, if they hold him, if they should trade him, what they should do with them. And they are kind of freaking out. He's had a really rough start to his first season in LA. His minutes are only at 25 per night. He's taking 4 less shots per game than in Utah. His field goal percentage is right around his career average of 50%. So it's not like he's lost his touch around the rim or his finishing ability or anything like that. But his rebounds are where the huge thing comes in. He's down nearly 4 per game, only at 4.8 compared to 8.2 last year, and well below his career average of 8. No, his assists are down, but that could be pretty understandable playing with alongside a really ball dominant guy in James Harden and Kawhi Leonard when Leonard is actually healthy and playing. And then he's also just not getting after it as much on the defensive end. His blocks are down, his steals are down, which just really isn't like John Collins, or at least that we've seen from him in the past. Now, probably a big part of this is I didn't expect Zubac to play 35 minutes per night again this year, so that'll be a big fat L on my part, calling him a bust heading into this season. Maybe Collins does need a little bit more time to settle down in LA. The Beal injury probably does help a little bit, getting him into the lineup more, making his minutes more of a floor of around 25. I do really like his fantasy game. He can hit the 3 as a big man. He's usually very solid in the rebound department and a plus in the stock categories. We are only 14 games in. I don't really like to judge a player rest of season until we're past American Thanksgiving, or at least one of your studs. I'm not talking about a streaming guy or a fringe roster guy, but guys that we just use some draft capital to select. I am definitely panicked on Collins for sure. Definitely perked up, but if possible, I am trying to give him at least a couple more weeks before sending him back to the gulag. I just don't believe with his motor that his rebounding is dipped by 50%, that the stock contributions are going to be this low all year, regardless of the usage or new team dynamic. Also, for any of you guys that watch every video, you guys are sweet, by the way. I think this was a boil, not a pimple, because it's still here and it's still fucking hurting. Okay, we'll keep going with Amen Thompson. Now, it's definitely a slower start by his standards and what people expected coming into this year, having to use a high second in most cases to draft him this draft season. So I'll keep this short. I am just not panicked on Thompson at all. Completely flaccid. Sure, his field goal percentage has dipped, but his attempts have increased over 4 per game, which is great. Thompson is shooting more threes, which is great. His minutes are at 35-ish per night, which is great. Yes, his rebounds are down, and maybe that has to do a little bit with Houston going ultra big with Steven Adams lineups at the beginning of the year, or maybe just the addition of Kevin Durant, because Kevin Durant, you know, is a decent rebounder, even for his small stature at only being 7 feet tall. But regardless of that, the blocks are going to pick up. Thompson is still one of my favorite buy lows in all of fantasy basketball. Okay, on to the next guy with Jakob Poeltl. Now, there was a lot more panic about Poeltl at the beginning of the year when he was missing games, when his poor play was showing, when he wasn't doing really anything worth justifying holding him in 12-man leagues, or at least it seemed like that at the beginning of the year. But he's definitely picked it up in his last 4, practically playing to his ceiling, in my opinion. Now, in real life, I don't think Poeltl is that good of a player at all. He just reminds me of like one of those random white dudes that teams used to throw in the early 2000s just to foul Shaq 6 times. I don't know if that's a fair judgment or not, but I just can't get that out of my head. Poeltl just legit can't space the floor. He has zero versatility on the defensive end, so he can't switch on to smaller defenders. I don't know, maybe I'm being way too harsh with my bias against him as a guy who's just always followed the Raptors growing up. But real life, I just don't really like his game. But that's not what 99% of you are here for. You're here for the fantasy analysis, so we'll get back to that. For fantasy, Poeltl is completely fine as your second center. I kind of think we know exactly what his ceiling is, and that's last year where he had that career year. I wouldn't be like stoked or anything to roster him, but he does need to be on rosters in 12-team leagues because he is solid, even if I despise the real life player. I never really understood the full-blown panic on him at the beginning of the year because I would just never draft Poeltl as my starting center, but I guess if you did, then it's totally understandable. He is totally fine though. I think Poeltl will be an okay second center the rest of the year. Me personally, I'd way rather somebody else. But if you have him, I wouldn't panic that hard. But he is probably likely to be injured again at some point because he is very injury prone. But let me know what you guys thought. Was I too harsh on Mr. Jakob Poeltl here? Or what do you think? I'm legit curious. Okay, last up we got Herbert Jones. Herbert Jones from the New Orleans Pelicans. Now, before we get into it, if you were strictly using him as a steal specialist in either head-to-head leagues or roto, that's fine, don't worry. But everything outside of that, I am panicking on. Jones is shooting a putrid 39% from the floor, way off his career average of 47%. Actually looks like he's kind of improved his three-point stroke, which was one of the things that I was hoping that he would improve going into the year, which is why I thought he might be sort of like a breakout player or a sleeper player that you can grab near the end of your drafts. But Jones' rebounds, assists, and blocks are down. His free throw percentage is crappy, but he's shooting at such a low volume each night, it doesn't really matter. The thing is, the Pelicans are just so bad. I feel like they're going to get blown out on most nights, and I don't really see that changing in the future. But when games are competitive or they've won, Jones has had solid lines. But the blowouts are messing everything up, and again, I don't know if that's going to change the rest of the year. Combine that risk with his poor shooting right now and decreasing counting stats, Jones is just such a real tough hold in 12-team leagues where you don't need steals. The panic meter is torqued and banging off the end here. Okay, now we're going to go into the section of the currently injured guys, either with a multi-week absence coming up or they're being out multiple weeks. So the first up's Kawhi Leonard. Now we just can't shake that injury bug. Dominant when he plays, but how much of that are we actually going to get this year? And will it be during playoffs or will it be enough to help our teams even reach there? Zion Williamson. I'm kidding. I know it's Zion. Pronunciation police was absolutely after my ass last vid, but that's okay. I like it. Gets the people going, you know? And no, I've never watched a second of sports. But Zion, same sort of thing as Kawhi. Is he ever going to be healthy enough to actually make contributions for a fantasy team throughout the regular season and come playoff time? Your guess is as good as mine. Next up, we have Jalen Green. When you don't like to see somebody re-injuring their hamstring, retweaking it after they've already been out, only thing you can do with Green is just hold tight and hope this is the last time that he gets hurt the rest of the season, or it could just be a really big waste. Anthony Davis, same old AD. Extra worried now in this Dallas situation. Owner is stepping in, requesting medical info on AD. Are they going to tank, rest, or trade him? Dallas is just one fat mess, all caused by the new most hated man in Dallas, Nico Harrison, taking that honor away from our Lord and Savior, Jerry Jones. Jordan Poole, his efficiency is just so bad. Draymond Green must have punched it away from him years ago. He plays no defense. He's such a liability. The Pelicans absolutely stink too. Shutdown risk, benching risk, you name it. And he's hurt. And then Christian Braun, I was super down on Braun going into the year. Now with a lengthy absence coming up, I don't think he's a must-hold by any means, unless you were desperate for him and have an open IR spot. And then actually, last up, Jalen Williams. Are we getting concerned here? Like, what's going on with this injury? He hasn't even, like, started basketball activities, or what's going on? How are you Jalen Williams owners feeling out there? Talk to me, Goose. All right, I think that's it for this video. I appreciate you guys watching. If you haven't checked out my prior waiver wire video, make sure to check it out. It's right here. Also, I'm going to be trying to do 2 videos per week. We'll see how long it lasts, so wish me good luck, but I appreciate y'all. Have a good rest of your week. Have a good rest of your weekend. Have a good day, night, wherever you are, and I'll see you guys real soon.